I'll look at what I've created or I'm creating and think, this is not where it's supposed to go. I hate this, it sucks, I can't draw, I should probably stop. I'm sure most of you relate to this type of thinking at some point in your art career, but I want to tell you, don't think like that. Don't entertain these thoughts, it's not worth it. I'm not making this video because I personally do this really well, as you clearly heard in the beginning. I myself have these thoughts all the time, and in fact, it's because I have these thoughts that I wanted to make this video, where I'm going to be drawing the balconies that I see outside of my window, and I apologize for the somewhat lackluster filming in some parts where my shoulder is blocking the page or you can't see the page in some parts, but I still hope that the visuals will be interesting enough to keep your attention. It's really easy to judge whatever comes out of your hand because for most of us, what we imagine in our heads and the ability our hands have to create does not correspond with each other. The only way that we'll be able to do that is through hours and hours of practice, probably around 10,000 hours if we are going by the standard definition. However, how do you deal with the time in between all these hours? You can't fruitlessly and irritably wait for 10,000 hours to magically get to that point. You need to enjoy the journey in between. I think the main problem comes with comparison, particularly what comes with social media. I talk about this a lot on this channel, only because it's an issue that I really relate to, and one that I know others, especially in this millennial/Gen Z generation, relate to. In fact, it's a wider issue which spans not just comparison of art, but of lifestyle, of finances, of fashion, pretty much anything really. I recently read the infamous book by Mark Manson, The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F. In fact, it really opened my eyes to truths which we all inherently know, but we choose to be blinded to them because of all the noise that's present in our daily lives. Mark has this really nice quote somewhere in the beginning of the book, which says, "Our lives today are filled with information from the extremes of the bell curve of human experience. Because in the media business, that's what gets eyeballs, and eyeballs bring dollars. That's the bottom line. Yet, the vast majority of life resides in the humdrum middle. The vast majority of life is unextraordinary, indeed quite average. The flood of extreme information has conditioned us to believe that exceptionalism is the new normal." This really brings us back to the reality that we are living in. And I think it's honestly getting more and more difficult for young people or people in general to distinguish the difference between what is reality and what is not, which obviously social media perpetuates. But it's important to note that what you are comparing is only 10% of someone else's life with 100% of your life. To bring that back to the art perspective, we do not see the screwed up papers, the frustration, and the quote-unquote failures that other artists experience. This piece that I'm making here is one that I initially wanted to give up on. I didn't particularly enjoy it. There was a lot of pressure with the camera being there, but I needed to film something for this week, and the good thing about doing YouTube is that it forces me to finish artworks that otherwise I wouldn't finish because I will not have a video that week. For me personally, when I find myself getting discouraged or losing faith in a piece, I try and block out that voice gently but firmly and focus on getting the piece done to at least a decent standard. Resistance, as Steven Pressfield terms it in his book The War of Art, again I highly recommend this book, is always going to be there, and it is an uphill battle to try and get over it. You have to learn how to live alongside resistance rather than, ironically, resist it. To finish off, I want to end with a principle that Mark mentions at the end of his book. Action, inspiration, motivation. Basically, what this principle is stating is that you should just start and do the action, not get inspired first in order to do the action, because that's what most of us do, right? Don't let someone else's supposed reality and the negative feelings that come with that cloud your own objective reality. Don't rely on someone else making you feel better to get things done. Start by doing something, anything, even if you think it's terrible, because you can then get inspiration off of that. You can also try the 5-minute rule by saying to yourself that you will only do this thing for 5 minutes, and then see where you can end up after that, because more likely you will continue doing the thing that you want to do after those 5 minutes. Personally, I had no idea what video I would make this week, as the one I had intended to make was just going to take too long, probably because I was planning it way too much. So instead, I made this piece and hoped it would work out. And now I have a script based on the experience I had whilst drawing this. So in a way, this video is a great idea of the action, inspiration, motivation rule. So see what happens for yourself. Pick up a pen, paintbrush, and draw something, anything. Accept that resistance will be in your head and keep going despite whatever she is telling you. That your work sucks, that you can't draw, that you're never going to be a good artist, and that you should just stop. Accept all of those things that may or may not be true and continue anyway. I hope this was a somewhat useful video, and I would highly urge you to read Mark Manson's book as well as Stephen Pressfield's. I will link both of them down below. I also apologize for my lack of live stream this week. I do hope to be back with my sketchbook tour next Wednesday, and you can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at designdrawdo. When it comes to Twitter, I have just recently started being more active. I'm trying to post daily poetry/writing on Twitter, so you can follow me there for more literary content if you are into that. Alright, have a great week ahead, and I'll hopefully see you on Wednesday. Bye!